Hello, I'm Ariam, and this is my vlog for the first week of the Bharat Dynasty readathon. This vlog is hopefully going to last from the 1st of August to the 7th of August, because that's the first week. And this readathon is divided into weeks with a little bit of extra thing at the end for the end of August is going to be something a little different. So this readathon, you're divided in, you choose what dynasty you want to be part of. I chose the Cholas. And you have two prompts for that you get 50 points in. Basically, the point of this readathon is to get as many points as possible for your team. And you also have 3 prompts a week that you will also get 50 points from. And when I read the books, when I finish each book, I'll tell you how many points I got for it and why. But let's get into the books that I'm planning to read in this week. Okay, so the first 2 books I'm planning to read are books I've already started. So one of the ways you get points is for the amount of pages you read. So I will get points from where I started, not from the beginning when I read in July, but only where I read in August. So the first one is, as you can see, it's Shopaholic to the Rescue by Sophie Kinsella. I think for this one, I'm only going to be able to get points for, I'm only going to be able to get points for the pages. But this basically is the 7th in the series, I think. I don't know. It's a larger number. It's the second to last one, penultimate. I love the word penultimate. Thank you, Lemony Snicket, for teaching me it. And this follows our main character, Becky Brandon, and I can't really tell you what happens in this book because that would be spoilers. The other book I'm currently reading that I am 154 pages, I believe, which is 32% of the way in, I am going to get points for, so extra points. So one of my prompts, as I said, I chose the Dynasty of the Cholas, and one of our prompts is read a book based on any mythology, get 50 points for that, and this book is based on Christian mythology. So basically, it's a Sherlock Holmes retelling where we follow Sherlock and Watson, except that it's based on Christian mythology. We have angels, we have fallen angels, all kinds of stuff like that, and it kind of retells all different kinds of stories in one novel, and it's really good so far. Okay, so, and I also get points because one of our extra prompts that we get points for is the first week is Scrolls of the Past, read historical fiction. And because obviously it's a Sherlock Holmes retelling, it's also a historical fiction. Okay, I guess it's not obvious because you have lots of modern day retellings of Sherlock Holmes, but it does happen. In the 1880s, it's a historical fiction. Okay. Technically, we also have the prompt, The Name That Stays, read a book with an interesting character name, because Sherlock is already interesting, but his name in the book is Crow. But I think I prefer to put it in read historical fiction, but I could put it in either of them. You're just not allowed to use 2 of the same ones in the weekly prompts. Then, the third weekly prompt we have is Fate is the Helmsman, round the spinner wheel chooses. That's what we're going to do now. I'm going to put 3 spinner wheels, 2 for books I want to read today, though I might not get to them all, and 1 for a book I want to read tomorrow. So let's start with the first book I want to read today, which will be a Katie Kazoo book. So Katie Kazoo books series is by Nancy Krulik. It's a early chapter book series where we follow this girl named Katie, and she had a horrible day in 3rd grade, and she makes a wish that she would like to be anyone but her. Unfortunately, there must have been a falling star or something, and her wish comes true. There will be, every book there's a magic wind that blows, and it turns her into someone else. And basically she has to deal with that. She has to deal with the consequences of whatever happens when she's someone else, if she gets turned into the cook or whatever of the school. And they're fun. They're just fun. They're 80 pages each. So I have all the Katie Kazoo books here. Not all of them. There are a lot of them, but I have 28 of them here. So I'm going to tap the spin. You probably can't hear that, right? But it's spinning. And that was close. Red, white, and hot shoe. So let's go see what that one is specifically about. Okay, so this one happens when she's in 4th grade, which I really like because I really enjoy her teacher in the 4th grade books. But it says, it's President's Day and everyone in Class 4A is psyched. It means that they each get to dress up as the president and give an oral report in front of the class. But Katie finds herself on shaky ground after the magic wind switcheroos her into Millard Fillmore, of all people. I believe Millard Fillmore is an American president. Can she prevent the ultimate President's Day disaster? So as you can see, they're just silly little fun books. Okay, so the next book I'm going to spin for is I have a comic book, kind of a comic book. Yeah, I have a comic book here and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picture books. So let's spin. Oh, that's good. So the one that actually gets selected is the picture book that's on my actual TBR for the month. So I am only able to count half of the pages when it's a picture book or a comic book or something like that, which means that this will probably be like 15, 16 pages for points, but that's fine. So this is Buzzing with Questions. Let's see what the subtitle is again. It is The Inquisitive Mind of Charles Henry Turner by Janice N. Harrington, and this is a picture book biography of the African-American entomologist Charles Henry Turner. I don't know much about it. I know that I like the cover, I know that I like entomologists, I know that I like history, and I like picture book biographies, so that's all I need to know. So the third thing I want to do is I want to choose a book for tomorrow. I am probably going to finish Shopaholic to the Rescue tomorrow. I think it would be fun if I could also manage to read another book to get another 50 points from the spinning wheel. So I'm going to look at my physical books and choose a few small ones, put them in the spinner wheel, and we'll see what comes out. So I have 6 stuff here. I have 2 rereads, which are The Pinballs by someone Bylers and School in the Valley by someone Carlson. Love how older books only have like the last name. And then I have Freckle Juice and 3 Magic Trio chapter books. Magic School Bus. So I'm going to spin. And we get School Bell in the Valley. Can you even see that? Okay, you could. I could have showed you the other ones too. Oh well, too late now. But, okay. School Bell in the Valley. This is going to be a reread for me. Obviously, it had a paperback cover, obviously, at some point. I do not remember it. I wonder when this book was, like, this edition was published. It might not say even. 1963. Look how cute the illustrations are. So, this is a short book. I read this as a kid. It follows this girl who, I don't remember why, but she lives out in the country and she gets the opportunity to go live in a town and go to school for the first time. And basically just follows her adventures, being in school for the first time, learning to read, stuff like that as an older girl. And it is very good. Actually, I'm going to check out when it was published because I just looked. It starts in 1900. Okay, yeah, it was published in 1963. It seems like it only came out with 1 edition, so I feel very lucky to have this. Yeah, and obviously the title is a pun because her name is Belle and she goes to school for the first time. And she's like obsessed with the idea and she signs her name with a bell for like until she learns to write. I love this book. It's like, is it an amazing book? No. But it's such a good book at doing the vibes, you know, of like just giving you the vibes, and the illustrations are so nice. Anyways, kind of my TBR. I am going to go read the Kitty Kazoo book. I might go outside and downstairs because it's nice weather. And I'll come back to you and I'll tell you what I think about the Kitty Kazoo book. And I'll also tell you what I think so far about the Shopaholic book and about Angels of Crows. See you. Okay, it's like an hour and a half later, and I finished the Kitty Kazoo book. So I'm going to update you on that, then I'm going to update you on Angel of the Crows, which I have not read more of, but I haven't told you about it. I've only told you the summary. And I'm probably not going to say anything about Shopaholic to the Rescue, just because of a whole vlog that I'm doing of reading the Shopaholic series, so I don't really think I have anything to add to this vlog. I'm just gonna say, like, when I finish it, how many points I've got for it and everything. So the Katie Kazoo book I read was Red, White, and Achu. Cute title, but not actually really relevant to the story. So this one I felt did take a little while to get to when the switcheroo happens. It was kind of obvious from the beginning that would be that way because it told us in the summary that she was going to change into Millard Fillmore. Now, the important thing to understand about her changing is it never happens in front of other people. And it also told us in the beginning of the story that her class was going to go at the end of the week. The story starts on Friday, I think. And they said that next Thursday, her class was going to go to see a President's Day show where there were going to be all the presidents. So I pretty much guessed already from there that we would have to wait till there, and when it said that she would turn into Millard Fillmore, she would turn into the actor playing Millard Fillmore, which I kind of guessed that was what it would be from the beginning, because she doesn't actually turn into historical people. That would be really weird. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good, fun time. I liked it. I thought it was cute, just that she has to research this president that nobody's ever heard of, nobody knows anything about, and then she discovers something about him that she likes, and she, like, makes it fun, and yeah, and I also thought, like, the way she saved the day at the end after messing up after she was turned into Millard Fillmore's actor, because obviously she's not a professional dancer, she doesn't know what to do, she's in 4th grade. That was really cute. I just thought it was a cute book overall. There isn't much to say about these books. Oh, and there was a B-plot with her best friend, Suzanne, being, like, having gotten a calendar that had, like, you know, those fake little holidays on them and, like, being obsessed with doing each one correctly. It didn't really go anywhere. I don't think it really added that much to the story, but the ending was also cute. Overall, it was cute. I think the B-plot was kind of weird, and it took a little while to get to the actual change. But yeah. Okay, so now Angel of the Crows. Like I said, I'm 32% of the way in, 154 pages, and I am loving it so much. So I was a bit nervous to read this because I love fairy tale retellings. I don't love retellings of modern books. Of books. And I think the reason is that it can be really hard to do in a way that makes sense. Like, one of the problems I've often had with historical fantasy, even though I've discovered that I do love historical fantasy, the reason I used to think I hated it was because the authors didn't put enough thought. Well, I really want a drink. One moment, please. Into how these changes really would change the world. And sometimes I can ignore it, like obviously it can never be perfect, but sometimes, like, they've at least put thought into it, but, like, sometimes you just totally ignore it. So then I don't like it. I feel like retellings of books have two problems. So there could be that one problem that they don't really think of how would the world of the characters change and how would the characters themselves change in reaction to this new world. They just, like, either plop the characters into the world without changing anything about them, which doesn't make sense, right? Or they have this new world and they try to fit it to the characters. Or the other problem is that they're like, I have this new world, the characters have to change, and they totally change the characters. Now, I've definitely done that myself writing fanfiction. It is so easy to do by accident, but, like, then you don't want to read it, right? Because, like, I came to read a retelling of this book. And, I mean, personally for me, the characters are always the most important part. So if the characters are just totally different, why would I want to read it, you know? And then I just end up really hating the book. Now, with Angel of the Crows, neither of the things are a problem. She very clearly thought about the world and how it would change. I love the world building. The world building is so cool in here. It's so great. I'm loving it. And the characters. Well, I don't necessarily agree with her interpretation of Sherlock Holmes. I can see where she was coming from and why she made our Sherlock Holmes character, Crow, act that way. Which is a thing, you know? Like, you can disagree with someone's interpretation, but if you understand where it's coming from, it's fine, you know? Mm, it's not disconnected from the character. It's everybody can read something and have their own interpretations. And if you understand where it's coming from, if it's still connected to the character, even if it's an interpretation that you disagree with, it's still fun to read. And that's exactly what's happening with her Sherlock Holmes character, who is named Crow. And Lestrade, listen, I love me some good Lestrade character retellings. I hate how often he's portrayed as this dumb guy who doesn't know anything. He is not that. He is not that. Lestrade is really smart, which is why he works with Sherlock Holmes in the first place and why he listens to him. We are continuously shown that the dumb people are the ones who refuse to listen to Sherlock Holmes because they're so confident that they know everything that they are not willing to learn from anyone else. And that is not who Lestrade is. More than that, Lestrade is willing to learn from anybody. He listens. Is he the smartest character in the world? No. He's not smart. Where's my phone? Sorry. He is not as smart as Sherlock, obviously. Nobody's as smart as Sherlock except Moriarty and Mycroft. Is he smart as John Watson? No. John Watson is really smart, you know? Like, he puts himself down, but he's really smart, actually, at the end of the day. But he's a smart guy. He's not dumb. And more than that, he's able to learn. When we first see him, he's a different person than who he ends up being, not because Arthur Conan Doyle totally changed his character, but because he's willing to learn. And we really see that willingness to learn in his portrayal in The Angel of Crows. So I love him in his portrayal in The Angel of Crows. I don't know why I'm crying. I didn't sleep enough. I also really love John Watson's portrayal. There are definitely some things going on. He is not the John Watson we know and love exactly. He's got some secrets, but again, it is so based. Just like Sherlock Holmes' character, even though I disagree with the Sherlock Holmes interpretation, I do agree with the John Watson. It's not always how I would interpret him, but it's an interpretation that I really understand. Like, you know, you can have more than one interpretation for a character, and you can have both of them at the same time and be like, yeah, I like both of them. They're both true to me. That's what's happening here. It's not the interpretation I first go for, but it's the second interpretation I go for. And it's done so well. And I love it. The thing I love most in this book of John Watson is his curiosity and his risk-taking and ruthlessness. Those are kept here, and those are the things I love most about John Watson. You know, like that he's like, you know, Sherlock is so curious and riskless. And risk-taking. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm just gonna take a gun and follow Sherlock Holmes in the middle of the night. Yeah, that's what I need. Why? Because I'm curious. I want to see what's going to happen. I love John Watson so much. I love all the Sherlock Holmes character. I think Arthur Conan Doyle was an amazing writer, and I know he didn't like writing Sherlock Holmes, but I'm so glad he brought him back. Except for the last book. The last book wasn't good, but I'm so glad he brought him back after he was killed off by Moriarty. I feel like it's spoilers, but I think it's well known enough that it's not spoilers anymore, you know? Anyways, enough about the portrayal of the characters. I also want to talk about the portrayal of the stories. I think I mentioned that this is a 488-page novel, but it contains a lot of the stories of Sherlock Holmes. So first, and it also contains a longer thread. So it has like this Jack the Ripper story going on. And some other stuff, like it's advertised as Jack the Ripper, but there's also we have like 2 mysteries in the background going on while they solve other mysteries. And and the way she writes it, the way Catherine Addison, the author of this book, writes it, their movement from mystery to mystery is so fluid. Like, it just feels so natural that this is the way they're moving from mystery to mystery. Like, because it's just portrayed as normal. I love that. So far, they did do the Scarlet, what's the first one called? It's not the Scarlet Letter. Come on, my baby. It's making me want to reread the stories from Sherlock Holmes, you know? I don't think they're going to have my favorite story because it wouldn't really make sense to have it in this book. I don't think, but yeah. So far, they did Study in Scarlet. That makes sense. Now they're doing the Sign of the Four. So, you know, right after. And I read the chapter titles. I love reading chapter titles before I start the book. I love it. So, from what I could tell from there, they're going to have the Adventure of the Speckled Band and the Adventure of the Solitary Cyclist, I think. I love the Adventure of the Solitary Cyclist. Yeah, they're having a lot of the feminist stories. I just said 2 of the feminist stories, but you know. Oh, they're for sure going to have the Hand of the Baskervilles, obviously. Yeah, I think that's everything. I don't remember if there's anything from the case book of Sherlock Holmes or his last bow. Those were the ones I liked less, especially. I liked his last bow. I did not like the case book of Sherlock Holmes. I'm sorry, Sherlock. Sorry. I would say I'm sorry to Arthur Conan Doyle, but I don't think he would care. You know? He would be like, good. Or maybe he would be disappointed that he wrote all that, everybody pressured him to, and then someone ended up not liking it. I don't know. Okay. So what else was I going to say? Oh yeah. I mentioned that I really like the world building. So that's everything I have to say about it. I love it. I love it. So far, I'm really, and like, you know when you love a book this much and you're like scared it's gonna let you down, you know? Like, cause I'm only 32% of the way in. I'm not sure I can really trust books until like 75% of the way in. But so far, I'm loving it. Anyways, I'm probably only going to continue it on Monday. But I will probably, I need to go pick grapes. I need to take my zucchini out of the oven. I need to go pick grapes. And then I will hopefully read Buzzing with Questions. And if I feel like it, I might do another spinner wheel after that. See you! Okay, hello. So, the problem with Buzzing with Questions is that I actually had to put it on hold. It's not here, so I decided to redo the spinner wheel. So I have Night Owl, The Promise Part 1, Shazam number 6, I Found a Kitty, Animal Armor, and Tide Pools. So, let's do this. The Promise Part 1. Yeah, this spinner wheel really wants me to get through my TBR for this month. Hey, welcome back. It is August 4th, the evening of August 4th. And yeah, so I have a lot of updates for you. So the first update is I'm actually not going to update you on the points of each book until the end of the week. And I'll quickly say then what were the points that I got for each book and how much it all is together. The next update I have is I did read The Promise Part 1 by Jane Lewin Young. And I just didn't end up updating you on Friday. I'm still not sure what to say about it. So this book, there are going to be some spoilers because it happens after Avatar The Last Airbender TV show ends, but I'm going to make them as little as possible. Okay? So, and basically things that you would kind of expect just from the summary of the TV show. So this happens right after the TV show ends, and now that there's peace, the Fire Nation, during the last 100 years, during the war when there wasn't peace, they built villages in the Earth Kingdom. And so now that there's peace, the idea that the new Fire Lord Ang and the King of the Earth Kingdom say is to take all of these villages and move the people back to the Fire Nation and, set them up in new villages. Amend them, give them money so that they can start new lives. They had businesses there, etc. And then the Fire Lord reneges. I don't know. And what can I say about this? I love Toph. Amazing. Uh, Agree with Soka about Katara and Aang's love being gross, but but I actually liked it more. But not I liked it, but I was able to accept it because Soka was like ooh all the time. Um, I like the drawings of the fights. That was cool. And I guess we have to really get down to the bone of it, huh? I do not know how to feel about this because I'm too emotional about it. This is obviously not one to one to Israel, but it does have some similarities, and I'm just too emotional about it. It's too political for me to really say anything about it. So, yeah, I do want to read the others, and then maybe I'll have a more opinion. I do think it's worth it to read the others. Okay, then on Shabbat, I finished Shopaholic to the Rescue. So I was 9 chapters through this. I was at chapter 10, which was page 132, and I finished it on Shabbat. I explained at the beginning of the video what this is about because I was in the middle of it. So I'm not going to explain again, but I'm just going to say this is my second favorite Shopaholic novel ever, actually. Uh, Wait, no, not this one. Sorry, I got confused. This is not my second favorite Shopaholic novel ever. I continued on Shabbat. I also continued to read the next Shopaholic book in the series after this. Wait, I'm confused. This is why I don't usually read series so close together. No, I was right. This is my second. I was right. This is my second favorite Shopaholic novel after the first original one, Confessions of a Shopaholic. This is one where we got to see Becky grow. Becky's the main character, just like we did in the first one. So that's probably what made me really like it. And I really enjoyed the mystery. The end of the mystery was kind of silly, but then they had a heist, so that was super fun. Yeah, so I was surprised because but she doesn't really write mysteries. It's not her thing. But I think Sophie Kinsella, everything I've read that she's written, that she's put her hand to, she has done really well. I think she just knows how to write. So yeah, really good. I really enjoyed this. Would I recommend it to everyone? No. But if you're already reading the Shopaholic series and you already like them, yeah, definitely read this duology within the Shopaholic series. Then I reread School Bell in the Valley by, I forgot her first name. Oh, yes, Natalie Savage Carlson. So, like I said, this is a reread for me. I read this first when I was a kid, so. And this is, I don't think I explained what this is about. No, I did, yeah. I explained what this is about when I introduced it as well. And yeah, I loved it. It's such a good book, and I love it. My only complaint is that she wrote should've as should space OV instead of should've, like should apostrophe VE. And I don't get why people do that. And it's something that's so easy to catch. I don't know why. It annoys me. I think it doesn't annoy me because it's a spelling mistake. It annoys me because the reason she wrote it like this is because she's trying to write an accent, but we have a way to write it in already, should apostrophe VE, that's already the way to write it. I wouldn't mind it as much if it were a spelling mistake, but because so why mess up spelling when you're writing in an accent, Anyways, yeah, I like this book. It's super, I love the way that Belle, our main character, finds herself and the way she's allowed to find herself and her relationship with this family. And also, I really noticed this time that what happened to her uncle, the adults also learn lessons in this book. It's not only about Belle and the kids learning lessons, and her best friend learning lessons. It's about the adults also learn lessons. And Yeah, it's really nice. I love this book. It's great. Then I DNF'd the book. I read around 100 pages of, let's see exactly how many pages. Oh my god. I skipped ahead to see if it got any better. I think, let's see. Okay. God, I read 90 pages of Woke Anti-Semitism, How Progressive Ideology Harms Jews by David L. Bernstein, which had a foreword by Natan Sharansky. Now, the foreword was good. Yes, it was kind of simple, but it was good. And I think the foreword just really made the whole point of the book in like 10 pages that this book is trying to make in 200 pages. I did not think this book was written well. Like, part of it is because I found it boring because I already know the problems that that the book is talking about, so it's not anything new to me. But the main thing I disliked about this book is that I felt like it wasn't going anywhere. Like, he has a point he's trying to make, and he keeps on bringing up stuff to make it, and then it just falls. He never actually makes it. Like, almost, and then let's move to the next point. And like, so that's why I DNF'd it, basically. Those two reasons. I don't think it was well written. And yeah. And then today, I read another 73 pages, 73, 74 pages of The Angel of Crows. And I am loving this book so much. So I am now at part 5, I believe. And so far, we've had Studying Scarlet and Sign of Four. And that's what I just finished, the retelling of Sign of Four in this world. And as we go on with the retellings, they get farther and farther away from what happened in the original. I don't know if that will continue to happen in the stories. It might depend on what makes sense in this world, but it totally makes sense that they get farther and farther away because obviously the way the author just knows how to write it, because she begins with something that is the world she introduces, it's a little different from our world, but in small parts. And then as they get further and further into the book, she introduces more and more stuff. And it seems like I think it makes it much better because she's not forcing the world upon us and saying, okay, this is Sherlock Holmes and John Watson in this world. She's connecting the world to the world that we already know of Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. So, yeah, and I am loving all the magical creatures in this book. So, like I said, we just start with angels, and fallen angels. And that's like the mythology. It's based in Christian mythology. But then as we get farther into the book, we get vampires, we get werewolves, but then we also have other things, like there are hellhounds, there are hemophages, which are not like vampires. And so she keeps on adding more and more, and the world building. Oh my god, I love the world building here. Also, the character stuff. So there was two character stuff that kind of made me scream. One, I guessed the moment I thought about it, I guessed what it would be, but I like it. So far I like it. I like the idea of it. I will want to see how it's handled. And the other one, I didn't expect it all. And the character responding to what the character said was just like capital letters, what? And I was there along with that character. Oh my god. I did not expect that at all. That was wow. And it totally changed how I looked at that character while simultaneously, and like in a good way. In a good way, it totally changed how I looked at that character, and oh my god, it was crazy. The plot, however, that's like the only thing that I didn't like about this book. I really enjoyed the retelling of Studying Scarlet, and I was enjoying the retelling of the Sign of Four for most of it, but the plot really started dragging for me towards the end. Now this might not be so much Catherine Addison, the author's fault. I don't really love I much prefer the short stories to the Sherlock Holmes novellas, and The Sign of the Four is my absolute least favorite Sherlock Holmes story, partially because it's super racist, which obviously the author dealt with here, and the story like really dealt with how racist it is, but also because I think it's genuinely the worst version of all the Sherlock Holmes novellas. All of them. Of the three Sherlock Holmes novellas, I think it's the worst written. So I don't know if the plot dragging happened. I haven't read The Sign of Four in a while, but I don't know if the plot dragging happened because of Catherine Addison or because of Arthur Conan Doyle. So yeah, those are all my updates. So I finished I read the whole of The Promise. I finished Shopaholics with Rescue. I reread all of Schoolboy in the Valley. I DNF'd Woke Anti-Semitism, How Progressive Ideology Harms Jews, and I read another 74 pages of The Angel of Crows by Catherine Addison. So that is my update. Tomorrow I will hopefully continue The Promise and also read more of The Angel of Crows. See you! Hello, baby. My kitty cat is being so cute. I wish you could see him. Look how cute he is. Look what a cute baby. Look what a cute baby. Besides that, I'm so far 390 pages into the Angel of the Crows, which is nearly 100 pages. Yesterday I was at 331, and yeah, this book, I am loving it. So far today, what I've read so far in the book was a retelling of The Copper Beeches, and now I'm into a retelling of The Hound of the Baskervilles. And in between, there was a little bit of the Jack and the Jack the Ripper plot. And I didn't mention this when I mentioned that this book had Jack the Ripper in it, because I wasn't sure how much Jack the Ripper was going to have, and it seemed then it was going to be a little, and so far it is a little, which is good, because I might have DNF'd it. There's a good chance I would have DNF'd it if it hadn't been a little, because I don't like Jack the Ripper stuff. It just feels so callous towards the woman he murdered, right? Like, I don't know, it just seems callous, you know? So I'm not enjoying the Jack the Ripper stuff. Like, it's written well, but because of the reasons that I said, I'm not enjoying it. But like I said, the book is written well, and it's definitely a book that takes my attention and it takes my brain power, which I knew, and I still think the Sign of the Four story ended up being a little too long, but I also knew at the same time that part of it was that I kept losing attention because I had already been working all day, and then I was reading it on the bus home, and it was like, because that's when I usually read, and I had been tired, but I am tired now, and I've been reading it, and I am loving it. You know, like, I did read quite a lot this morning when I was still fresh and awake. I'm very much a morning person, but yeah, so so far The Hound of the Baskervilles has been doing better. So The Hound of the Baskervilles, she is also keeping it closer so far to the original. Like, there have definitely been, like, quotes in here from the book that fits the story, but Hound of the Baskervilles has whole parts. I'm not totally sure how I feel about it. Like, on one hand I enjoy it, on the other hand I'm kind of about it. My favorite thing that I'm still kind of for some reason, but I also super enjoyed it, when she quotes the original book, but it's different because of the context of this book. That's fun. That is fun, you know? Oh, I forgot to say about the Adventure of the Copper Beeches, that it was from the perspective, like, the person who came to Holmes, aka Crow in this book, was the husband and not the governess. So that changed the story. So I thought that was, like, a really good change, because there isn't much she didn't change much else about the story, but that was a really good change that made it fresh. And we could enjoy seeing the characters in this book that, while they are based on Holmes and Watson, are different, we can enjoy seeing them from a slightly fresh perspective, even though the story was essentially the same. I also mentioned that I love the world building, right? And this world building is just like the way she adds things. Did I say this yesterday? The way she adds things and it just builds up slowly. Yeah, I did. I said it yesterday. But it's so crazy because it comes so naturally in the story most of the time. There are times where I'm like, wait, why did you just tell me that? Is it supposed to be in your world? But those have been, because it's from the first person, obviously, from John Watson character. But those have been a few times. Most of it, like the majority of the times, it has come so naturally that you learn about how the world works just from because that's what's needed for the plot point. And that is the kind of world building I love. This is really disturbing me now that it's in camera. I'm sorry. The kitty cat likes to scratch it and I spoil him. Um, so yeah, that's all I have to say. Oh, there is now in the basketball plot, I think one of the reasons it's also going smoothly is that we are getting more smoothly than the Sign of the Four is so far, besides it, I think because it's following it more closely than the Sign of the Four did, we are also getting some just character stuff with John Watson and just stuff that's going on with him in this book that's only relevant to this book. It's not didn't take place in the Sherlock Holmes books, basically. And that thing that we're seeing, that we're exploring, it's not about Watson's character development, so it is about his character. It's not about the development of his character, is what I'm saying. But it is... What is character development? Oh my god. I always, assumed that character development was how a character develops throughout the story. But now I just realized that character development could also be how the writer develops the character, like how the writer shows us the character within the story. So that would mean there are two different meanings of character development. So it is relevant to the second meaning of character development, but not the first meaning of character development. But what I was going to say, that it also has more to do with the magic of the world, which I love. Also, I forgot to say yesterday, Moriarty is hot in this, which is really, really weird. Yeah, Moriarty isn't supposed to be hot. That is something I have always stood for. Even in the Elementary TV series, which I do not recommend because it's super anti-Semitic, not because it was bad, it was good. But Moriarty is hot in the Elementary TV series, and that was one of the only things I didn't like before it started, besides, the crass anti-Semitism. But yeah, Moriarty's hot in this, and I don't hate it, which is super, super weird. Hello, it's the morning of August 6th, and I'm around halfway through The Promise Part 2. I think I'm going to have to stop now because I have to leave for work in a bit, but I'm enjoying it in the end a lot more than The Promise Part 1. So yeah, The Promise Part, and I did update you in The Promise Part 1, but it wasn't a real update, and as you saw, I didn't really know what to think, but reading The Promise Part 2 has helped me realize what I felt about The Promise Part 1, and I guess my main problem with it, besides that I was too emotional about it, was that it was a bunch of setup. And yes, it's a comic, but it was still 70 plus pages of setup, which is not that great, especially when you are already familiar with the characters and the world. So, where are my earphones? Oh, they're in their place. Okay. So this one is, as I said, I'm enjoying it a lot more. Also, the dilemma has become clearer to me. Like I said, I was too emotional. And that one, I'm not sure why, if it was the comic itself, if it was just because when I was reading it was the 9 days, or other various reasons that could be. But it's much clearer to me reading this comic, and I think it partially is the way the comic is set up, that how different it is from my situation, so it's much easier to read it. So far, like I said, I'm enjoying this comic more. The last one, we kind of just had everyone together and kind of a few. We saw Tsuko a little bit with his father alone, but mostly with everyone together. And now they've separated into groups. We have Tsuko, we have Anga Katara, and we have Toph and Sokka. And they're each dealing with their own stuff. And even though it's a short comic, it's not short, it's 70 plus pages, but even though it's a comic and it's medium length for a comic, it actually feels more put together when they're separated and they're not trying to stuff all of these characters into one scene. So I am mostly enjoying my favorite part is the Toph and Sokka part. It's simultaneously adding to the plot, also being really funny and fun, and I love Toph and Sokka. I mean, I love all the Avatar characters. Except Aang is definitely my least favorite. Then we have Tsuko, who is talking to his father, and I'm interested to see where that goes, but at the moment, there isn't much happening there. And the illustrations there, because they're in the dark, because it's in jail, are my least favorite. And then we have Aang and Katara, who are on their mission. Again, not much has happened there, but it has kind of reminded me of why I didn't like Aang and Katara. I didn't really realize this. I couldn't put words to this as a kid because I liked Katara so much, and I still love Katara as a character, but I do not think that she's the right person for Aang. She's just, it just feels like at some point with a relationship, they either have to repair it somewhere or it has to break. And I guess they were like, yeah, they're just too, despite being friends, etc. And they do get along very well, but I don't know, they just kind of seem to have such different ways of getting towards their goals that I don't really know how they would work together. But yeah, those are my thoughts halfway through the comic. Okay, so this has to be quick because I have to leave for work in like 10 minutes. But I want to tell you two things. One, I didn't get to read more of The Promise yesterday. And two, I did get to page 400 of The Angel of Crows, and I'm still really enjoying it. I only have 48 pages left, so I'm almost definitely finishing today and starting another book. We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, I'm loving it. So I finished the Hound of the Baskervilles retelling. It was beginning to annoy me at some point because it was just like literally exactly what happened in the original, but then it changed and I liked it. I just, like, there wasn't anything super special about it that I can point out. I just think Catherine Addison is really great at writing. And now we're at the retelling of The Speckled Band. And yeah, like I said at the beginning of this book, these are definitely more of the feminist stories, I suppose. Not my favorite of the feminist stories. These ones are more focused on abusive. I like, my personal favorites of the feminist stories in Sherlock Holmes are the ones where like the woman does something, and these ones are more based on. These ones all are the ones based on abusive husbands and fathers and stuff like that. But I do really like it because it's something that I never really focused on when reading Sherlock Holmes. Like, I did notice that he was like against abusive. I think it's really hard not to notice that he's against abusive men, but it really just shows you how much Arthur Conan Doyle was against them, and he didn't limit it only to physical abuse, but he fully included emotional abuse in his view of what abusive men do. Any abuser, obviously, but in this case it is all abusive fathers and husbands, so abusive men. But any abuser would use the same tactics. The women are less, so statistically, women are less physically abusive. And more likely to do emotional abuse. Anyways, now I'm at the retelling of The Speckled Band, as I said, and the title of the chapters does include The Speckled Band, but the title of the part like these books are broken up apart. It's called The Surrey Vampire, which I love because one of my least favorite Sherlock Holmes stories is The Sussex Vampire, and there's nothing actually wrong with The Sussex Vampire in itself. I don't remember what it's about, but there's nothing wrong with it. I just hate it because it's called The Sussex Vampire, and you know from the very beginning that there aren't going to be any vampires in it, and it's really not nice to call something vampire when there are no vampires in it. So yeah. And obviously there are vampires in this. And I am really enjoying the vampires in this. Like I said, I'm really enjoying the world building, and the vampires also have really good world building. I like it. One of the little world building parts that I haven't mentioned is the oaths. And it's a really tiny part, but it influences the story so much. Anyways, that's all I wanted to update on the Angel of the Crows. And as I said, I'm probably going to finish it today and need to start another book. So despite it being Thursday. So we did get our weekly prompts for the week starting tomorrow on Friday, and they are pirates and a book with pirates and a book told in mixed format, but mixed media. But neither of the books I have on my TBR to read on my Kindle this month have that. So I put a poll up. So the options I have are Turning Darkness into Light by Marie Brennan and Charlie Hernandez, and The League of Shadows by Ryan Calejo. I put a poll up on the Discord. It's 24-hour poll, but whenever I finish The Angel of Crows, I keep nearly calling the Town of the Baskervilles now that we had the Laurie Town of the Baskervilles part, and I need to take out another book, I will look at that with God's help. So yeah, that's all for right now. I have to leave for work in like 6 minutes. See you. Okay, so I definitely have a few things to update you on because I finished The Angel of the Crows and started another book, but I'm actually just on this update, I'm just going to focus on one book that I read just now. So I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the week when I was doing the spinner wheel for picture books, I got Buzzing with Questions, The Inquisitive Mind of Charles Henry Turner by Janice N. Harrington and illustrated by Theodore Taylor III. And then I had to put it on hold because it turned out, that someone had it out, so I had to put it on hold. And it just came in. So I read it. This one is good. This one was good until I exercised, and then I had to redo it. So I'm sorry that. So it's awkward. Anyways, whatever. It's pretty late anyways. But anyways, I'm sorry this is getting kind of grayed out. It's dark out, but I want to be out. And this is what happens in my camera's computer when it gets dark out. Anyways, I was very disappointed in this book, honestly. So this book, as I said, it's about it's about an African-American entomologist who's also, in general, a lot of things. He was also a behavioral psychologist, comparative biologist, lots of stuff. A real genius in an Eloi, as we would say in Judaism. And it sounds super interesting. However, I do not think this book was good. It was all over the place. So this is a picture book. It's a picture book biography, and I like picture book biography in general, but this one specifically was just so all over the place. Like, it didn't know what it wanted to do. It didn't really know what it was. So the illustrations, I'm just going to start with illustrations. They were pretty simple, which would have been fine if the language had been really good, but because the language wasn't good, it just was even it was okay. The illustrations were okay. I have nothing really to say about them. But yeah, the book did not know what it was doing. It didn't know if it wanted to be more aimed at third graders, because there are biographical picture books aimed at older kids, or if it wanted to be aimed at little kids. It would be, for most of the book, it was very, how do you say it? It was talking in higher language, longer sentences, and then suddenly it would have a sentence just aimed at little kids. And it would be in a rhyme scheme, just suddenly in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't part of the book. It didn't feel to be part of the book. And there was also so much going on. Now, this is because Charles Henry Turner did so much, but there was too much going on. Like, it was just jumping from this topic to this topic to this topic to this topic. Now, I understand that Charles Henry Turner did a lot, but I really wish they had focused on one or two studies that he had done, or maybe even something else that he had done, a study and something else that he had done, because he also did a lot of other things with his life. He really worked to get Black people in America to give them better education. He was born in the 1860s. You know, he was the first Black person to ever get a master's degree from the University of Cincinnati. And then he moved south to really help, and he became a teacher. He was really passionate about giving Black people education. So I really feel like this book could have either like concentrated on 2 experiments or focused on one experiment and that, but it was all over the place. Like, it was giving you tiny glimpses of the experiments, and it was bewildering. Not to mention that the experiments also weren't explained very well. There was one experiment that was explained a little longer, and because it was explained longer, it was explained well. But there were like so many experiments that we're mentioning here, and they were just 2 pages, and it was gone. Or it would sometimes be one sentence. Like, it would be like, it would be like, he also trained moths to flap their wings when they heard a whistle, like Pavlov's experiment, where he trained dogs to drool when they heard a bell. I'm like, that's cool, but why did you mention that here? This book is at most aimed at 5th graders, okay? This book, really, the audience is 3rd to 5th graders, besides the weird sentences. So why are you mentioning that? Because 3rd to 5th graders most likely don't know who Pavlov is unless they have a parent who's a psychologist, right? So, and yeah, it's a cool thing that he taught us that moths can hear different sounds, that they pay attention to the sounds depending on how, and the reason they don't respond to most sounds is because it's not relevant to them. They're going to respond to sound if it's relevant to them, which is, just what every animal does. But it's just such a small thing that it should have been left out of the book. The thing I'm getting from this book is that the author was like, oh my God, I just learned about this guy. I need to write about him. I'm also getting this from the author's note, but she was like, oh my God, I just learned about this guy. He's so cool. He's so awesome. I need to write about him. And she just dumped it all in this book without really thinking about what needed to be there. And I appreciate her enthusiasm, but the book wasn't good. I'm sorry. Anyways, I am probably going to go finish The Promise now. I really would like to finish The Promise Part 2. I'm probably not going to get to The Promise Part 3 today, which means that, what can I do? I just can't, or probably I'm not going to be able to get to it today. So I might try to get to another picture book. But yeah, that's my update. And I like how it's getting grayer and grayer as the sun sets lower and lower. Okay, good. So I should really go inside because I'm kind of tired of sitting on the floor. And also, it's dark out. But I just finished A Promise Part 2, and I want to talk to you about it. Really, it was so much better than Promise Part 1. Let me tell you, it was like the same length. It was maybe even 2 pages shorter, but it was so good. So I told you about the first half that I read. The flashlight was working, and okay, fine, I'll go inside. One moment. Even my cat wants to go inside. Wait, no, I think the flashlight is working again, and I'm lazy, so I'll just sit here on the floor. Anyways, so there were so many things happening, but it actually worked well together. And let me say a few things. So, as I said, we're divided into 3 different parts. We have Tsuko alone, we have Ang and Katara hanging out, and we have Toph and Sokka hanging out. And Toph and Sokka, they were just they did add a little bit to the vibes of what is going on and what the main problem is in this series, but they were the less important part, I guess. But I love Toph and Sokka's friendship. And we didn't get to see it enough in the show, in my opinion, so I'm so glad that we got to see it more here. And Katara and Ang is really going in an extremist position, which I understand why he's doing that. I mean, he's what, 12, 13? But it's really frustrating to see at the same time that he's going into this extremist position. And he's 12 and 13, and he has the literal weight of the world on his shoulders, right? He's the avatar. He's supposed to bring peace. He brought peace, and now he's supposed to maintain it. That's crazy. But yeah, it's very frustrating to see him go into this extremist position in order to maintain piece. And now that we finish all those stuff, let's talk about Tsuko's character arc, because it was crazy and it was great, and the drawings really enhanced it. Like, he keeps on going to speak to his father in jail, and the first time we see, and this also happened in the past book, in the first comic, but in this comic, a little over halfway through, and suddenly, instead of seeing his father through the bars, we see him through the bars from his father's perspective, and that, like, gives you, and that tells you, like, we're really going to change right now. Kit Kat, seriously? You want to come in now? I mean, come out? And just I'm not going to say more, but there were like 2 more parts where I was like, oh my god, the art is just emphasizing what Zuko is doing and what he's thinking and everything. And yeah, I really actually liked where we're going with Zuko's character with this, because I can really understand. I didn't like it in the first part, okay? I'm going to say what happened to his character in The Promise I thought was in The Promise part 1, I thought was push, and it didn't really feel like him, but now it is feeling like, I feel like what's happening in The Promise part 2 to Zuko should have happened in The Promise part 1, and then it wouldn't have felt as pushed. So what's happening now is really good. Like, you really see, like, why he's thinking this way and what's bringing him to these actions that he's doing, and why he's thinking and feeling this way. That's good. Yeah, I feel like The Promise part 1 was a failure, and The Promise part 2 is just everything The Promise part 1 wanted to be, which is kind of crazy because, you know, they're in the series, and plus it's a trilogy, and they always say second book syndrome, middle book syndrome, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I'm really enjoying where Zuko is going with this. And I just want to say one thing. I can see a solution. I don't know if it would work, but from how the Fire Nation colonialists are acting in here, I think that it's something that they could, in the book, I think that it's something that could easily be put into action, and that is one state solution. So we have the Fire Nation colonies in the Earth Kingdom, and the Fire Nation, okay, I went black and white again, okay. And but I don't have a lot to say, so I'll just finish. So the Fire Nation wants to stay, right? And the Fire Nation colonialists want to stay because they've been here they've been in the Earth Kingdom for a long time. Most of them were born there. They grew up there. This is the culture that they know. So the obvious solution, considering that it's not like they're coming from a place of this is our land, they're coming from a place of this is my home, I don't want to leave, is just to say, you can stay if you become citizens of the Earth Kingdom, you know? And because especially because the Earth Kingdom citizens around there have accepted them, and they also feel like they're part of their home. I do understand that this could cause not good feelings in the rest of the Earth Kingdom, where they haven't accepted colonialists, but here where they have, and I think it's the best possible long-term solution. Say, if you want to stay, you have to become citizens of Earth Kingdom, and stop being citizens of the Fire Kingdom. If you don't want to do that, you have to leave. Yes, it's an uncomfortable solution. Yes, it will cause protests and discord in the rest of the Earth Kingdom. Yes, there will be people who are Fire Nation colonialists who are very angry about it because they feel as our Fire Nation, but I think that it's the best possible solution. I don't understand why no one's thought of it and why it hasn't come up. So that's all. I think I'm going to move inside so I can tell you more about the Angel of the Crows and the other book that I started reading. Okay, as you can see, it's around 2 minutes later, and I'm ensconced back inside next to the bookcases. So I want to tell you about the Angel of the Crows because I finished that today. And yeah, I loved it. Okay. Was it like my favoriteest book ever? No. And was it perfect? No, but I loved it. Okay. So I told you that last time that I finished the basketball story, and now I was in a retelling of the Speckled Band. So that's really what happened. I finished that story, and then there was a wrap up on the Jack the Ripper story, and then there was a wrap up on the book as a whole, because there were some things that happened in the end of the Jack the Ripper plot that needed to be wrapped up after that. So, wait. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. think I mentioned like everything I enjoyed, so I actually have some things that I didn't enjoy that I guess I should add. Because I mentioned I loved the world building, I loved the characterization of John Watson, and I loved how I could see where the characterization of the characters was, and I love the characterization of Lestrade, and I love that I could see where the characterization of the characters was coming from. Yeah, the world building was great. So, what are some complaints? We're going to start with a not real complaint. I wish there was more of this book. Okay? I wish there were retellings of more of the Sherlock Holmes stories in this book, but that's because I love this book so much. So that's like that's a positive complaint. But I do have some actual complaints. There were parts of Sherlock Holmes' character, Crow, that I just was like, why is this happening? Sherlock Holmes, the real Sherlock Holmes, is not so clingy. You know, I really don't know where you're taking this from. Why is it so clingy? And then when I got to the author's note at the end, she said had started as a fan fiction of Sherlock, the show Sherlock, the BBC Sherlock. And I was like, oh, okay. So it does make sense based on his character in that, but I don't like his character in that. So yeah, so that was definitely a part where, like, as I was reading more and more of the book, I was like, I don't like this part of Sherlock, and I was glad that the book really focused on John Watson, which was another thing I liked about this book, that it like focused on different parts on different people sometimes than you were used to, but mostly I just like that it just saw the world so well through the lens of this world that the author built, and you could really see, and the changes she made, like, it was so well thought out. The story of Sherlock Holmes put in this world, it wasn't just, I'm going to put these two together, it was fully meshed, you know? So I complained because I love this book. I really did like this book so much. And as I said, for me, I didn't like the Jack the Ripper storyline because I explained why. So yeah, I don't really have anything more to say. I mean, that's like the only complaints I had. I really like this book. Okay, so I finished that book, and so I said I was going to put up a poll, and I did, and neither of them won. They both came 50-50. So I just decided to start Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows by Ryan Coelho, because it's at least it's a mythology retelling, which is one of my team's main prompts, so I'm going to get plus 50 points for it anyway, so it doesn't matter as much, it doesn't fit into weekly prompts, and Turning Darkness into Light is not a mythological retelling. So, based on mythology. So what is Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows by Ryan Coelho about? So I actually told a summary that was written on, like, the summary part of, you know, when you look it up in the library. I actually told it in my TBR for the Battle of the Bharat Dynasties, but I am now 69 pages in, and it is totally different, like, what is happening in this book, so I'm glad I get a chance to tell it again over here. So what is happening? So what is this book about? So we have our main character, Charlie Hernandez, obviously, and his parents go missing, and 2 months after that, and the day his parents go missing, he starts growing horns, but they vanish. And 2 months after that, he starts growing feathers. And that's really what how do you call it? Capitulates? I don't think that's the right word. Canon? Like, it throws the plot out of the canon. You know what I mean? That's what starts the plot. Because of his reaction to growing feathers, we get some character moments, like, where characters meet, and that really start the plot going. And so basically, he also finds, on the same day that he starts growing feathers, because of what he does, because of starting growing feathers, he finds a mysterious map. And he obviously, in a locket, that's the only thing that he's left from his mom, because their house also burned down on the same day his parents went missing. And obviously he's like, I'm going to go follow this map. And he does. And that's pretty much where I've gotten to. Like, obviously, I've gotten to a little further than that, what happens after he followed the map, but I'm not really going to say anything, because obviously that would be spoilers at this point. So I'm just going to talk about the book a little itself. So I am so far really enjoying it. I do have one main issue with it, which is kind of similar to the issue I complained about in Buzzing with Questions, though much less, which is that this book kind of goes a little unsure. I don't know. It's a little all over the place with very little bit, okay? It's not major. It's not, if it was major, I definitely would have DNF'd it. It's just a tiny bit of like, am I writing in this style or am I writing in this style? So it's kind of bothering me a little bit. I am enjoying both styles, but they're not really sitting well together. You know? Like one style is this is what happened, blah 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 blah. But it's written well, you know? And one style is kind of silly and funny and more. So yeah, the second style that I mentioned is aimed more at like younger middle grade, and the first style is aimed. No, they're both aimed at the same age range. I'm not sure how to explain it. They're different vibes. You know what I mean? They're aimed at the same age range. And it's only a little bit, but they are different vibes. So that's kind of bothering me. But besides that, I am definitely enjoying it. I like, so far, he meets this girl named Violet, and she's really fun and funny, and she also helps capitulate the plot, you know, and so she's fun. And Charlie's being driven a little crazy by her. Like, in the beginning, he's like, oh my god, she's talking to me. I can't believe it. The popular girl is talking to me. And then he's like, oh my god, what has she done? And I totally understand him. You know, Violet is kind of crazy. But it's so fun so far. Like, I haven't gotten really far into the plot, as I said, but what has happened plot-wise so far has been so fun, and I've really been loving it. So, yeah, I will probably be continuing reading this, and hopefully you will see more about this book in the next vlog. I'm debating. I don't think I want to read The Promise Part 3 right now. I think I want to leave it because even though they're comic books, they are just, like, such a punch. So I think I want to do another spinner reel, get the last extra 50 points in, and read another picture book. So let's do that. I really hope it's Night Owl. I also have a comic book in here, but I'm really hoping it's Night Owl. So let's click on spin. And Shazam 6, which is a comic book. So this is a comic book series where we follow Shazam, aka Billy Batson. He's a kid in foster care who turns into a superhero who's an adult, and you know, has all the normal superhero powers, but his main superpower is that he's an adult. And his foster siblings are also part of the Shazam family. They can also turn into adult superheroes, and they each have a more specific superpower. And they have access to these 7 magic lands. And at the very beginning, in the first comic, or the second comic, they go into these magic lands and they get trapped, each 2 kids, in a different magic land. And they basically have to find their way back to each other. But these magic lands aren't as innocent and safe as they seem. Okay, hello. It is August 8th, and yesterday, as I said, I read all of Shazam issue number 6 from the 2019 Shazam comic series. Let's move back a little. Thank you. Now I don't feel like you're cramping me as much. And yeah, I really loved it. So because this is a comic series, it did take a little longer to set up. Like, I mean, each comic is like 15 to 20 pages, so they're not very long. But this one, like, really took all of the setup. It still has a little setup in what it's doing with the villains, but it really took all of it and it used it so effectively. Now, I can't really tell you what's going on because it is issue 6, so even though they're very short, by the time we get here, it would be massive spoilers to say basically anything. So I'm just going to say the emotional impact of what happened with Billy and Mary was just, wow. It was just hit me crazily. So yeah, so that's all I'm going to say, and now I'm going to go over all the points we earned for this week. Well, I earned for our team. So in the beginning of the week, I read Red, White, and Achu by Nancy Krulik. That was 69 pages. I followed a host, so that's plus 300 points. It was part of a weekly prompt. That was a spinner prompt, so it was 50 points, so it was 419 points total. Then I read The Promise Part 1 by Jean Lewin Young. That was for comics, graphic novels, picture books, you have to cut the pages in half. So it was 36 pages. I followed a host, so that was 300 points. Had a rival team trope, which was 30 points. And it followed a weekly prompt, which was a spinner prompt, which was 50 points. And that was for a total of 416 points. So then I read Shopaholic to the Rescue by Sophie Kinsella. I started this in July, so I was only able to count the pages I read in August, so that was 183 pages, plus I followed a host, which was 300 points, and that was 483 points total. Then I reread Schoolville in the Valley by Natalie Savage Carlson. That was 115 pages, and it had a weekly prompt of spinner wheel, so that was another 50 points, and that was 160 points total. Then I DNF'd Woke Anti-Semitism, How Progressive Ideology Harms Jews by David L. Bernstein, and that was 85 pages, and it didn't fit anything else, so it was just 85 points. Then I read The Angel of Crows by Catherine Addison. Again, this is one that I started in July, so I was only able to count the points that the pages I read in August. So it was 280 pages. It fit our team trope, so it was 50 points, and it fit a weekly prompt of historical fiction, so another 50 points for a total of 380 points. Then I read Buzzing with Questions, The Inquisitive Mind of Charles Henry Turner by Jennison Harrington and illustrated by Theodore Taylor III. Pages cut in half because it's a picture book, so 20 points. A weekly prompt, it fit a weekly prompt of spinner wheel, so 50 points, and that was a total of 70 points. Then I read The Promise Part 2 by Jean Luann Young, cut the pages in half because it's a comic, so 36 pages. It fit a weekly prompt of weird names, 50 points. Fit a rival team's trope of battles, also the first one also fit a rival team trope of having a battle, so 30 points, and for a total of 160 points. And lastly, I read Shazam 2019, issue number 6, cut the pages in half, there are 11. Fit a weekly prompt of spinner wheel, 50 points. Fit a rival team's trope of having a battle, 30 points, for a total of 91 points. And totally, overall, we got 2,225 points from me. Yes? Now, totally overall, my team, the Cholas, so you fight, there are 6 total teams, and you fight against 2 other teams. So one team gets first place, one team gets second place, and one team gets third place. And we got second place, so nothing happens to us. The first place, it's kind of like President, if you know the card game. The first place people can steal a prompt from the second place, from the last place people. So the last place people end up with only 2 prompts, and the first place people end up with 4 prompts, but we just got our normal 3 prompts. So, but I'm kind of scared because, here we are. So we, for whatever reason, where were we? Okay. Sorry. Where was it? Here it is. So, one, as you know, my team is the Cholas, and the other team battles were the Rajputs, the Palas, and the Guptas. The Rajputs got 36,496 points, the Guptas got 15,735 points, and the Palas lost, but I'm assuming they also got quite a number of points. It didn't say how much. And then we fought the Delhi Sultanate and the Satavahanas. The Delhi Sultanate got 14,417 points. The Satavahanas got 14,417 points. The Delhi Sultanate got 8,331 points, and we, the Cholas, got 11,613 points. And now, for the second week, we are up against the Guptas and the Rajputs. And as I said, we got 11,613 points, which is nice. But the Guptas got 15,735, and the Rajputs got 36,496. So I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to be in third place at the end of this week. But yeah, that was everything I read in the first week of August. And I only had 2 deaths, which is crazy because I read a lot, and I really liked it. And I'm going to film the video for the beginning of this week, which is Friday, I guess.